Hello everyone. Today we will be talking about slope-intercept formula, proportions, and a little bit of systems of equations. So the point of today is to learn about linear functions, proportions, and linear systems. And the best way to learn this is to listen to my video lectures that you're watching right now. And please, 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 everyone participate in the Nearpod activities. Learning math is not like learning history. You have to do the activities or you will not learn it, okay? So, which brings me to the point. How do you know you've been successful? You'll be able to determine slopes and y-intercepts of various functions. You'll solve proportions and you will solve linear systems. So let's start with slope-intercept formula. So the equation of the line looks like this. Y equals mx plus b, where m is the slope and b is the y-intercept. So here's an example, right? Here's your equation of the line, right? It gives you a line. And the slope is how much this line is tilted with respect to x-axis, right? So the slope in this case is 2, and the y-intercept is the place where it crosses the y-axis. So before we move on, I want to show you how to do this in Desmos and show you a few tricks on how to work with this. If you type in y equals mx plus b in Desmos, and then this menu pops up, says add a slider, and you hit all, you can now change the value of m and b as much as you want. So right now m is 1 and b is 1. So this equation over here is y equals x plus 1. But we can change the slider. So first I am going to go ahead and move my b. So right now it crosses my y-axis at the point 1. Now, of course, when it crosses at the point 1, what do I mean by this? I mean its y-coordinate is 1, or b in this case, right? The x-coordinate for all points that lie on the y-axis is, of course, 0. So, as I move my 1, you can clearly see that my line starts to move. So right now my b is 3, and the point where my line intersects the y-axis is 0 and 3, right? So you can clearly see that however I move, however I change my b, if I increase it, it just means I change my y-intercept. But notice I'm not changing the slope. All of these functions, this looks like they're all parallel to each other, right? The ones that I'm moving. I'm just changing the y-intercept. Incidentally, if I go into the negative numbers over here I am at point -4. It works just as well. I simply moved it down. So all I'm doing is moving the same graph up and down, just like that. Same graph. So what about changing the graph? What if I want it to tilt a little, to become a little steeper? And the question is, what does it mean to be steeper? The biggest issue that a lot of people have when they're figuring out the slope is figuring out, well, does it increase or decrease? How do we measure that? We always go from left to right, okay? So if I'm going from left to right, that means that right now my graph is increasing because it starts over here and it goes up there. So let's increase my slope. Let's make my slope 2. You can see that my graph became a lot steeper. And then I move it up and it becomes even more steep and even more steep. What if I go the other way? It becomes more shallow until my slope is 0 and it's horizontal. But then when I go into negative numbers, you can clearly see that my graph is now decreasing. All right. So the next thing I want you all to do is I want you to do the Nearpod activity. And in that Nearpod activity, I want you to build a graph that I just built in Desmos and download the picture. Just like you can do in Desmos, you can click down here, share the graph, export the image, download PNG, and re-upload it back into the Nearpod. Please do that.